Hi, welcome to the Rivera homeschooling vlog. I'm Nicole. We have my husband and I have three boys. One is in first grade, the other one is in preschool, and the youngest is a toddler. So today I wanted to talk about books and what's on our bookshelf and what is no longer on our bookshelf. But first, actually the first place that we keep books is not necessarily on the bookshelf. We actually keep them, I'm gonna turn the camera around, in our desk. So this is our homeschooling space. We have our phonics made plain, the Ruth B. Chicks, and the 3 R's. It comes with this chart. On one side is the numbers, on the other side it's phonics, but since we have phonics made plain, we don't really need that. We just do the number chart, and then our world map. But each of my boys has their own desk. This is technically the toddler's desk, so right now it's mommy's desk. And right now we're finishing up the Reformation ABC. So this is the first book. I already did I think I did a flip through of this. If I did, I will post it above of this one. We're almost done. We've been using this as like a unit study as we go through Reformation Month, which is technically over, but we didn't finish it. So we're gonna work on finishing it. And then I have all my teaching stuff is in here. But the books are on this side. So let me see what we have here. We've been studying, my first grader is into birds. So we've been going through Backyard Birds. It's a Peterson Field guide for children. And we've been learning about the different birds. And I'm gonna combine it with Art Hub on YouTube. Has a whole, and I'll try and post it, a whole playlist of how to draw different kinds of birds. So it's like a 2-page spread of each bird. It's a pretty thin book, so shouldn't take us too long. We've been trying to hit like one a week and learn about different birds. And then on YouTube, they usually have playlists of like where we can, because the first 2 that we did, we don't really have in our area. So it's not like we can go outside and just bird watch them. Where was it? But we would like cardinals. We don't really have cardinals where we live. So I found a YouTube playlist where you can just bird watch and listen to cardinals. So I put that on in the background while my oldest drew a picture of a cardinal. And we just talk about the different parts, how to tell the difference between male and female. And so this has been a fun little kind of science unit going through birds, since that's what he's into right now. We have Ruth B. Chick, the 3 R's. I keep it here as a guide whenever I need to reference it. Let's see. Raise New Primary Arithmetic. That's what we've been going through this year. I've got my little magnetic bookmark there, showing me what page we're on. We just got, so Ruth B. Chick's system is to use the KJV Bible. So we just got a brand new one because my husband had one from when he was a kid, but it was kind of wearing out. So I wanted one that the binding wasn't breaking and the pages weren't like getting all crackly. So we have that. We haven't really used this too much yet. It does have like a concordance in it, which I like, because we've been using the Becca Primary Bible Reader, which is the KJV. It just takes sections of it and goes through the whole Bible section by section. You know, it cuts out the non-age appropriate things. And so we've been using this as our reader. Magnetic bookmarks are the best because they stay in place. So we have a bunch of those. And then we have the McGuffies, which I was originally planning on using as our reader. I'm actually using for our writing, grammar, spelling curriculum. So we've been going through this. And rather than just using it for reading, because we're past this for reading, we've been using it to go through, and like each section has like a spelling list, or technically it's a reading list, but we've been using this as our spelling list. And then we've been doing a dictation where I will dictate the sentence and he will write it, and then I will give him the book and he will check it and see what he did right or wrong. And that's really helped him grow in his writing. This past week we were doing if clauses. So after a week of doing if clauses, he now can tell by ear where the commas go, and we talked about that. So then we're going to be finishing this section next week, and then we'll do this spelling list. Most of these words he knows how to spell, but there's probably a few in here we need to review. And then Ruth B. Chick says at this point in her McGuffey's guide, switch to the pictorial primer, so I put a note for myself there to do that. And then we'll come back to this one later. These are our phonics made plain cards on a book, but they go with that chart. I did a video on that I could post above. Oh, this one is through Classical Conversations. It's like, it's New World Echoes. And so it pairs, this year we're going through American history. So like for week 10, which we just did, we read the first Thanksgiving, and it goes through, everything's American history, and then the pumpkin. And so every week of the 24 weeks in this cycle, there is read aloud material in here that you could do with the kids. I haven't done all of them, but occasionally I'll see one in there and I'll be like, oh, that looks good. And I got it from OfferUp, so it was like $5. So I was like, this is awesome. We'll do some of these for read aloud time. Let's go to our bookshelf. So top is DVDs, but we're not gonna go through those. This is my husband's KJV that's kind of like falling apart. We have over here our Truth and Grace books, memory books. Right now we're on memory book 1, which goes to age 9. And then we have memory book 2 and 3. This goes all the way through 18. And it gives you a system for memorizing catechism, scripture, Bible basics, and hymns all the way through that age. So we're working on that. There's the ABCs and all their tricks, which goes with the phonics made plain system. It gives the parent or the teacher more information on different spelling rules and things to make the phonics and the spelling make sense. I have the parent teacher guides for raise, arithmetic, and the answer key here, which I might actually use because I'm going to try and get my son to do this a little bit more independently. And I think if I give him the answers when he's done, he could check his own work. And that might help with the math motivation. We have all the McGuffies minus the one that is in my desk, plus the parent teacher guide. This book I actually found at a thrift shop for like less than $5. It's the Book of Virtues. If you ever do habit training or anything, they have the whole book is broken down. This would be a great read aloud book of poetry, and you could probably do an entire language arts curriculum just on this book and walk you through all 12 grades. But it breaks it down on different character traits. So if you're dealing with habit training in one of these areas or a character trait that you need to talk about with your child, like work, I actually probably should use this week because we are dealing with some certain issues in our household right now that we need to address. It gives you stories and poems and different things, or famous writings. I think the Declaration of Independence is in here, that you can use as a story example of that character trait to talk about. So, and there's actually scripture in here too in the faith section. So this is really awesome. I believe this is a Christian author. And I actually think he was part of the Department of Education at one point a long time ago. Okay. And this book has a children's section version called the Children's Book of Virtues that has some of the stories, and my children really love this one. There's one about George Washington and the cherry tree. And it picks certain ones for children out, and it illustrates them. So you can just go through some of these. So we've done several of these before and talked about them, and we need to get back to doing them. We got distracted by some other books. So those are great. And that's actually what I want to talk to you about. I forgot to mention that. So if you will notice, there's empty space on my bookshelves, and there was not a single empty slot before. If you go back to like my earlier videos, the reason there are empty spaces is because we had a lot of books that aren't necessarily horrible, and I'll show you in a moment. Actually, let me go take you and show you those. So this is our storage room, and these are all the books I took off of our bookshelf. Some books we've thrown away. These are not horrible books. There's Little Blue Truck, we love that. There's Make Way for Ducklings. There's a bunch of really great books, but because we've been neglecting the more important books, and we've been dealing with some serious character issues, I've decided to put these books in here. I talked to my sons about it. And we talked about how if something is making us sin. It's not necessarily the thing is bad, but we need to remove that thing from our life while we deal with that sin. So we're removing these. These are not bad books. They're just distracting us from the books that we should be learning from right now to help us deal with what we are facing. I've only left on our bookshelves certain books that we're using for school, or just certain books that are going to feed good, very intentionally feed good moral values. And then a few little fun books, like all the babies books that he likes to look at are down here. That way he has something to get into while I'm reading with the big boys and not cause as many disturbances. But this one is actually, it's a board book, but it's awesome. We got it from our church bookstore. It's The Biggest Story, but it is in board book form for littles. And my 3-year-old and my 6-year-old really enjoy this. And it basically, in ABCs, takes you through the entire gospel, one letter at a time. So I like to do this every once in a while, just as I try to daily remind the kids of what the gospel is. But this is great sometimes just for morning basket time to just get back to what is the gospel? What does it mean to us? And do it in a fun little picture book form. So that's there. Another set of books we've been reading, I'm kind of going out of order, but that's okay. These books we've had since my oldest was little. They're from Picture Book Apologetics. These have, especially this one. This one talks about who goes to heaven, who goes to hell, what is heaven, what is the new earth, what is hell. And it gives a diagram in the back. And now, when my oldest was about this age that my second is right now, this book really spurred him. And he started asking a lot of questions and giving these things a lot of thought. And then one day he just came in out of nowhere. And he came into the house, rode his little motorcycle bike, and he says, I believe in Jesus. And so I thought that was really awesome that he had made that decision. Now we're still working on other issues, but this really helped him with that. And this talks about lying. This talks about heaven and hell. This talks about why, bad things or hard things happen and what we can, in our sin nature. And this talks about the empty tomb, and it's like an apologetics-based book. And this is an apologetics-based book for creationism. There's another book, we just haven't gotten it yet because it wasn't out when we got these books. We ordered these pretty much all in one foul swoop. So, but these have been great. We've been going back through these now. My second born is really getting into this one, so I'm excited to see what comes out of that for him. And it's helping them understand the gospel and be able to put it into their own words. Okay. This is called Circumference and the Dragon of Pi. This does not have anything to do with character, but for CC Math, we're going to learn about pi. And this kind of is in a story base with knights, which we love, knights and castles and dragons. Talks about what pi is. The circle's measure. Measure the middle and circle around. Divide so a number can be found. Every circle, great and small, the number is the same for all. It's also the dose. So be clever, or a dragon, he will stay forever. So radius is circumference's son, and circumference has turned into a dragon, and now radius has to figure out how to cure him. And so in order to do that, he has to figure out what pi is, the number for pi. And so he goes around to, this is geometry, and his brother Sim, and this is Lady Di, and she helps him figure out diameter. And then he goes around, he starts measuring all these circles, and he comes to the conclusion that all the circles, the diameter is 3 and about 1/7 what the diameter of what the circumference is. And so he figures that out, and he figures out the dose for his dad. And it's a cute little book to reinforce what we're going to be learning in math. Let me see. Oh, this is another one that comes with a version for older kids. It's I Am, and it's all the names of God for little ones. And this is my soon to be 4-year-olds. And it talks about the creator, Elohim, and it gives a verse and a little blurb. And it comes with, which my 3-year-old wanted to be upgraded, so now we have 2 of these. It comes with the I Am Bible, and it goes through all the names of God as it goes through the Bible stories. And it's pretty awesome because it gives a verse, gives a name, gives the verse, it talks about the story, it gives a prayer, and then at the end, you can actually use this as a devotional and go deeper, learn more. It tells you which verses to go read, and then it tells you what happened next in the Bible, so it fills in the in-between parts, and it tells you what it does it mean, and it relates it back to Jesus, and then it goes to the next section. So there's not big gaps like there are with a lot of storybook Bibles where they don't put all the stories in, obviously, but it actually gives you a summary of what happens in between the stories here. So we've been going through that. We have not done the extra verses yet. We'll probably go through this again one day and do the extra verses. We're getting ready to start going through this, which we also have the memory verse cards for. So this is the biggest Bible storybook, and it has a ton of Bible stories, and it actually has a curriculum that I'm hoping to get to go with it, and it's a 2-year Bible curriculum, and every story has a verse card that we can use as a memory verse. So I thought that was interesting. Each story we would do for a week, because we wouldn't just read the story out of here, we would also read it in the Bible, and we'd be reflecting on the verses, and it's pretty, it goes into theology. It is from a reformed mindset, but I'm really excited about this. I'm hoping we're going to get the curriculum soon, so we can start doing this for the next couple years, and then maybe we'll incorporate the IM like on Saturdays or something. Has something quick to do and review, or just for read aloud time. I'm trying to get better content into our read aloud time and just let them read the light fluffy books on their own if they want to. Once and if we bring that back in. I might not bring all those books that are in that room back into our lives, but I'm sure I'm going to bring some of them because I don't want to get rid of all their favorite stuff either. Okay. Oh, the Little Pilgrim's Progress, which we love. The illustrations in here are amazing. One thing I emphasize with the boys is that the #1 book, if we have no other book that we all need, is the Bible. After that, #2 is Pilgrim's Progress. I love this version because the illustrations are just so beautiful, and it sparks so many good conversations about the Christian walk. My favorite picture in here. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, and they actually sell this one on Etsy, that you can get the print from the illustrator. And I would really love eventually to redecorate the boys' room with the prints from this. Every day we read the Bible, and I try to read this almost every day to them, 1 chapter from this. And it just is a constant reminder of the Christian walk. What can derail us? What can keep us on the Christian walk? And it's a beautiful story. So I love this one. I would love to get this for their wall. But it's beautiful. It has Christian story and Christiana's, if you're familiar with the regular Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan, which we eventually will move up to once my kids are old enough. But right now, this is so rich and beautiful and lovely, and I'm not in a rush to get to the other one yet. We can hold that off a little bit until my second one is ready for it, and then we can enter into that together. It's beautiful pictures. We also do the movie, the animated version of the Pilgrim's Progress, so I try to keep that in the forefront of their mind so that they can, Christian gets knight's armor, and they love all that kind of stuff. And whenever we find ourselves facing struggles in the Christian life, it's nice to remember this story. Okay. Oh, we also got recently, which my oldest really wants to go through right away, but we're not going to do this until the new year because I have another thing planned for us. I like to use these books as unit studies, even though they don't come with worksheets, they don't come with anything like that, but we go through it and we kind of come up with our own things to do. This is the church history ABCs. It goes through some of the same people there's a few of the same people like John Calvin and Augustine, but there are new people in it, like the same ones as the Reformation ABCs, but there are also new people in it that we can explore. And if we find one we really connect with, we can look more into their lives. We find out where they lived on the map. If there's a torchlighter video on them, we watch the torchlighter video on them. I try to do something to, oh, there's Fox for Fox's Book of Martyrs. I want to get that so we can talk about the different martyrs. I feel like, and Ruth B. Chick in her books talks about learn all of history, but focus on the Christians in history. I want to focus on the Christians throughout history. And I also, our boys already know about what being a martyr is. They've seen that on torchlighters. I feel like in this day and age, we have to prepare our children for facing possible persecution for our faith, and even the ultimate persecution of being a martyr. So I just very gently, my boys are not like scared of death. They know the gospel. They've heard it pretty much every day for most of their lives. So it's not something we've shied away from teaching them. And so it doesn't like bother them hugely. So I know it might seem horrible to some people that we talk to our children about that, but they're not traumatized by it. My husband's reading systematic theology. He likes this book. Okay, let's go back over here. So we did this shelf. Is there anything? Oh, this is an exploring nature, which I need to get back to. And then these are our maps from CC. Okay, CC is classical conversations. Oh, we have this Aesop fable, which my kids like. Sometimes I just randomly open to a page and we read a story. And it comes with, I haven't used this yet. My kids don't love audiobooks, but it does come with an audio version that you can download that comes with it. I think this was from Amazon. Aesop Fables for Children. And there's a lot of illustrations in here, which is awesome. I got this, I think at a curriculum sale, which is, I think I'm gonna use next year for ancient history when we do that. It has all the different artifacts from ancient civilizations. And then these are all CC books. So cartography, because we've been drawing maps, and we have an atlas. This, I intend to learn about sentence diagramming. I just haven't gotten there yet. But this is a CC book. I find a lot of this stuff either on OfferUp or at curriculum sales, and I just snatch it because I know we're going to need it eventually. This is a whole book about Noah's Ark and the Lost World. Pretty sure I got this either at some sort of book sale. A Children's Garden of Verses, also from a thrift store. And so was this book, thrift store. I think I got a bunch of them for like a whole stack of books for like 10 bucks. So this is awesome. This is a bunch of poetry. Have not gotten back into that, but I should, because my boys actually really love poetry. And they have a friend who has a sister, and the sister's also their friend, and she loves doing tea parties, so maybe they'll do tea time with me. And we could do poetry tea time one of these days. We'll see. Incorporating all the things is not always feasible, so we'll see what happens, you know, especially with a toddler. We're pretty much in survival mode right now. The boys love James Herriot's Treasury of Stories. He was a veterinarian, and he has all these amazing stories about different animals and beautiful illustrations, and we read this a lot and love it. And these are just great stories. I actually not very well covered this, so it's all bubbly. 5-minute inspirational stories from Berenstain Bears. I find some Berenstain Bears books are Christian and some are less Christian, depends on there's different publishers of it. But these are all Christian stories, and we get to talk about different character qualities and issues, and loving our neighbors, the forgiving tree. So we go through these sometimes too, because the boys love Berenstain Bears. And I have some other ones down here. So we're doing American history, so we have God Bless Our Country. Berenstain Bears go to Sunday school. Oh, and because we had a year ago, because he's a year now, when we had our baby Falcon, we got Baby Makes 5. I think we got it right before he was born, just to like start talking to the boys about having a baby in the house and what it might be like and what they might feel. They might feel some jealousy and stuff. So this is an awesome book if you're going to add another baby to the family to talk about with your kids before the baby gets here. We made a mistake with when we had our second one. We prepared our son for the birth, but we forgot to prepare him for what it would be like to be a big brother. So I feel like it's more important to prepare them for a big siblinghood than the birth. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, my mother-in-law got us this when my oldest was little. I put it on the shelf and kept it here, even though my husband's not a big fan of Dr. Seuss, because I intend to do this for Spanish. We're getting pretty good into our Cherrydale Press curriculum, and I thought this might be nice once we get a little further in and learn more of these words to do this book for Spanish. The Pumpkin Gospel, it just goes through cutting a pumpkin and, you know, taking out the gooey insides and what God does for us and forgiveness of sin. And it glows in the dark, so the boys like to take this into the closet and look at it. We have our Adventure Bible, which I haven't really used because I found the KJV is better than this, but I didn't really know what to do with it, so it's still here. I figure if he wants to take it and read through it, he can. We have this, which a friend of mine gave me, and it kind of goes through God's design for sex, but at different ages and stages. So this one is for ages 3 to 5, and it just talks about, you know, where babies come from, but doesn't get into the nitty-gritties. Talks about the baby in the belly and how the baby is born and the uniqueness of how God creates the baby. And how mamas and daddies love their babies, and how it goes into all the different details and God's plan for us and purpose for us. So it's a nice, soft introduction. The boys enjoy it, especially the part about the umbilical cord. I don't know, they think that's funny. Okay. Baby books, we just have a bunch of different baby books down there. God Gave Me Grandma, God Bless My Family. We love these, and they're very heavily worn because they've gone through multiple children. But the pretty books, I feel like these are favorites with our youngest because he can see all the different pictures, and they have 100 first words, and this one we have in Spanish and English. Animals, and of course these are cool too. These are all kind of picture studies for babies, mini masters. So it goes through a bunch of different paintings by different artists, and you can read to them and they could see the paintings. So that was nice. It's kind of Charlotte Mason-y. Okay. Although in classical, it's kind of like Charlotte Mason in that these are all of our library materials, and that we do picture studies. We're actually getting ready to do Grandma Moses. So I have this huge book from the library of Grandma Moses paintings that we've been looking through as a family just for our dinner. Like we break school up around meals. So at dinner time, we might do a picture study, we draw something while we eat our dinner. But I can bring this in to CC and show the kids some Grandma Moses paintings if I still have it or if I check it out again. One thing this is an Obadiah book. We have Rachel and Obadiah, which we also love, but the Obadiah books are fun too, good for American history. In colonial times, we have a bunch of Billy and Blaze books if you have children that like horses, or boys in particular. These are published in the 1930s. I'm gonna get this ILL, interlibrary loan. But they have wonderful illustrations, and they are great stories. And Billy has very good character, so it's not promoting any kind of disobedience or lying or anything. He He's a very diligent, hard worker, so that's why they're still here. And maybe for Christmas we'll get some of our own. Okay. There's a bunch of it. So there's Billy and Blaze, The Forest Fire, Lost Quarry. We haven't actually read that one. Mountain Lion, we haven't read that one either. Gray Spotted Pony, Thunderbolt. We've read Thunderbolt, that one's really good. Finds the Trail, Shows the Way. Shows the Way is also, we read that one too. So these are all really great. And I recommend them. We also got, I got more Grandma Moses because we really like Grandma Moses. And there's different picture books about her. This is Grandma Moses. And there's this book here about Grandma Moses, and it goes through her life story. Both of these go through her life story just in different ways and shows some of her paintings and talks about some of her paintings. So that's neat. Oh, here's another one. Also ILL. And we also, almost perpetually, because nobody else from our library ever checks this out, we have the Pilgrim's Progress. Although we have it on Right Now Media too. So it's just divided into episodes versus playing the whole movie. Maybe this will be a Christmas present, we'll see. These are a bunch of books I printed and bound ourselves. I haven't necessarily gone through all of these. Here we go, James Baldwin's 50 Famous Stories, which I should probably do some of these. The Puritan Twins, I've read this whole one. It's pretty good. Might get into some discussions about racism, but it's pretty good. 30 Men, Famous Stories, also James Baldwin from 1905. These are all free in the public domain. 50 Famous People, James Baldwin. And eventually I'll have to make the binding books one. Stories of the Pilgrims, this is very good. These are all on heritage history. This one was also good, Beginner's American History. I read that before we started this cycle just so I can have like a basic idea, because I don't think my American history education was that great prior to homeschooling. Narnia's, this is, we also love Narnia, and this is just like a pictorial interactive thing, like they can open stuff here. I haven't really let them do this yet because I know what my children do to books. And so I'm kind of savoring this for when they are older before I kind of let them at this. I want to read all these books with them. They haven't read all these books. So I feel like this would be good while we're reading the book for them to go through. Something to add to the read aloud time. I just don't know if our attention span's there yet for Narnia. We've watched the movies. We have all the Secret of the Scrolls books. These are awesome. They're like Imagination Station where the kids go back in time, but they walk through the Bible and the Gospel, which is pretty awesome, with two kids, a brother and sister and their dog, and they go back to biblical times and they have to solve the Secret of the Scrolls to get back. And we love them. There's 9 books in all, and they are fun to read. And my oldest has expressed an interest to reread them again, so we might be getting to that. These I actually got from a curriculum sale because the previous owner of them listed all the different, there's 3 cycles of classical conversations, and each week what science lesson correlates to that week. I had full intentions of doing this, and I don't know why we just didn't do it, because we have a toddler, you know. A lot gets left in the dust when we're surviving toddlerhood. There are 4 of these books. I do not know where the 4th one is. We were just reading them this morning, so I gotta look for that. Big Thoughts for Little Thinkers. This is by Answers in Genesis, and it goes through the gospel. Oh, but the gospel is the one that's missing. Okay, the mission. There's the gospel, which is not here right now. The Trinity and the Scripture. One of the boys probably has the gospel one. And they are really interested in these, especially the 6-year-old. They look like they're baby books, but content-wise, they're probably more for like a 5 or 6-year-old. We have this much loved Bible. We actually have 2 of these. The other one's in the 3-year-old's backpack, but this one's been taped back together and glued and fixed because we love it. It comes with the Bible app for kids, but it has wonderful illustrations, and we've gone through this a bunch of times. My kids have pretty much memorized the stories. So sometimes if I'm reading from the real Bible, and I'm reading one of these stories, I'll just open it so they can look at these pictures while I'm reading to them to help them focus on what I'm reading. I'm really hoping the pictures in here, which have been, if you read the intro, it talks about how they very specifically and very intentionally made these pictures. I'm hoping we'll be able to use these pictures while we read the KJV Bible. Okay, moving on. Our church gave us last year, each kid, so that's why we have 2. The Christmas Promise. So we went through there and read about the Christmas story. We also have a bunch of these R.C. Sproul kids books that have been awesome. This one's The Barber Who Wanted to Pray. This one's really, we have to get back to this one too. Like I said, that's why I removed some books from the shelf so we can get back to these rich books. This one is all about Martin Luther, and he goes to a barber, and he teaches the barber to pray, talks to the barber about prayer, and then at the end, it actually gives you like this whole thing on how to pray, how to grow in your prayer life as a family, and to pray the 10 Commandments, to pray the Lord's Prayer, to pray the Apostles' Creed, and use as a guide for your prayer. So this would be an awesome unit study just on prayer. And this would actually go really well with the Truth and Grace books, because the Truth and Grace books have you memorize for Bible basics. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. For Bible basics, you're memorizing the Lord's Prayer and the Apostles' Creed and all of the things that are here that they have you pray. So while you're memorizing, you can go back and reread the story and talk about praying through, like next year for CC, we're going to be memorizing the 10 Commandments, Exodus chapter 20, 1 through 17. We can read this book and talk about how we can pray through some of the commandments. We've memorized the Lord's Prayer this year. We could start, I could actually read this to the boys. And we can start using the Lord's Prayer as a basis for our prayers. And then the Apostles' Creed is also one of the things we memorize in here, and we can memorize it and use that for our prayer time. So that would actually be excellent. Mental note to self, hopefully I will be able to remember that. I'll leave it out. I'm gonna leave it out so I remember. Okay, we have the donkey. This is all about the donkey that carries Jesus in, and it gives the gospel. And we have the lightlings, and it's all about the gospel and sin and original sin and how the light went out of the world, or that they were scared of the light because they sinned against the light giver, and then the redemption. And so this is awesome. There's more. Our church has a teeny tiny bookstore, so they're very, very intentional about the books they pick. And these and the Martin Luther one with the prayer are all on their bookshelf. So we're slowly but surely collecting all those books. This is also from the church bookstore, and this, and the baby books that go with these. This we got from the children's director at our church, and it's the Gospel Story Bible. We've gone through some of these, but not all of them. We got the Big Picture Story Bible, ESV, which is for the baby when he was dedicated, which is awesome for littles. Not for them to just hold on to because they will rip these pages, but very short readings. My older two enjoyed this too. And rich pictures. So we go through that. It's nice to be able to go through the whole book in a period of time that the whole Bible in a period of time that kids can grasp the whole big picture of the Bible over and over again. So when they actually get old enough to tackle the actual Bible and reading the whole Bible in a year, which is our goal, getting them to that point, they will already have like a big overview frame of what the Bible is in their mind. That, along with the CC Timeline song, helps a lot. More The Bible Story in 5 Minutes. There's a bunch of stories in there. This is from the Gospel Project. This one I'm using because we're getting ready to learn measurements in CC and memorize that for math. So this is Cook-a-Doodle-Doo, and this is the Little Red Hen's like great grandson. and he wants to cook something, and he's got her cookbook, and he wants to get some friends to help him cook a strawberry shortcake. And then once he gets to the actual baking part, they give you extra information on the side to work with the kids to teach them about baking and cooking. And they get into measurements, and they get into temperatures and all kinds of stuff. So it's a great little unit study on measurements that are used for cooking. What's a cup and what's different things. So it's all in there. So we're going to use that, like teaspoons versus tablespoons. So we're going to use that as like a little unit study when we get to that part of our memory work. Again, we're doing American history this year. I got these books for super duper cheap at the library. And so they just have pictures and different information about each state. I didn't get all the states because these are the only ones they had, so I just grabbed what they had. So some states we have, some we don't. Oh, this one's a really good story about General George Washington, buttons for General George Washington. How this boy carried spy information across enemy lines in a button to General George Washington to help him win a battle. And this is good for my 6-year-old. He can do this easy. He can read this on his own, or he can sit down and listen to it. He's got that. So that's there for him. We have all these if you books. So we have the Pilgrim one, If You Sailed on the Mayflower. We have also If You Lived in the Time of the American Revolution. It helps them kind of like think about what life back then was. Money talks about U.S. money. Let's see, I haven't read this, but again, you find books at book sales. Sometimes you don't have time to go through them, so you just grab a bunch of them. So I tried to get a bunch of these. A friend of mine gave me this Abeka book, My America and My World. I haven't gone through it yet. Here's the Rachel and Obadiah book I was talking about. This one's awesome. Both the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old love this one. George Washington Carver. Let's see. Let's split logs. This one's probably next time we go through. Maybe when he's like in 4th grade, because this one's more of like a chapter book. Both kids love this Christopher Columbus book. It goes through the whole life of Christopher Columbus, and even though it's long, it's very well done to keep their attention, and there's good illustrations. So we've done this Christopher Columbus book several times. I Pledge of Allegiance, it kind of goes through the pledge. Little lesser known fact, the pledge, our founding fathers never had the pledge. The pledge didn't come into play, I think, until the 1900s. So there's something to think about. This is another Abeka book for 2nd grade. And this one's cool. I haven't gotten to it. Probably won't get to it this year, maybe next year. And it goes through different songs and stories from, and even paintings from American history. I probably should try to include this, but you know, you can only do so many things. So this might be good next time we go through cycle 3. We won't be in 2nd grade, but that's okay. The second born will be. And then this one I just got at Goodwill. This one I just got at Goodwill. And this is Yankee Doodle America. I hope to bring this. I actually need to pack this for CC because it's the ABCs of American history. That goes through each letter. And it talks about different parts of American history. So I thought maybe, you know, if we have time, there's very rarely time on a CC day. We can go through some of these maybe during snack and presentation time. I could do my own little, squeeze in my own little presentation and read one letter while the kids eat their snack. There's a little timeline in the back. So this was $1 at the Goodwill. There's the author. All right. I have not read it yet, so I can't like fully attest to it. So here's more baby books on this side that the baby can get into. There's a couple more of these. So Van Gogh, Degas. We have a lot of little baby Bibles here. There's this letter book's pretty cool because they could trace it with their finger and feel how it goes, and it has all the letters all the way through. Pretty sure that was like Ross or TJ Maxx or something that we got that. They have a lot of little cute books. This is a Touch Your Feel Trucks that my oldest nut loved, and obviously loved it a lot. I had to retape it back together. But they can touch different things. And we have all boys, so they love trucks. Numbers, colors, and shapes. Probably should use this for my 3-year-old because I haven't really sat down and like spent a whole lot of time with him on shapes. He knows his colors. He learns via osmosis mostly. He's the second born of 3. It's hard to make the dedicated separate time for some of those things, but some of these Eric Carle books are great science books. We have this one and the caterpillar one. The boys like the busy spider, the very busy spider, more than the caterpillar. Cart books. So I have some books in my cart. Pages of History. I'm reading this to see if we're going to do it next year for ancient history. It's a little bit above the understanding level of our boys as of yet, but we have been going through the imagination station books, and we are on book 4, almost done with it. I keep these in my cart right next to the couch because they're just great to cuddle up and read a chapter. We're almost done with this one. It's all about knights, so the boys are really into it. And my oldest, my heart was like completely warmed, has recently taken to Little House in the Big Woods, and he actually sat down and read a chapter to himself. And I was like, this is amazing. He likes to read it to himself and then have me read it to him also, so we can read it together. I've already read all these books, but I enjoy reading them with the boys. I have the audiobook we can play in the background sometimes and just listen to as we play. But we've been enjoying that. And he really wants to make candy out of molasses, and we don't have snow where we live, but I have a snow cone maker. Maybe I can make snowy ice, and we can make candy with molasses and snow like Ma does in this book. And we can't do any kind of like sugaring off or maple syrup extraction from trees because those don't grow here. We live where it's very hot. So there's not going to be any snow coming anytime soon. But I'm super excited to get into these books, especially since we're doing American history. Okay, so that's it. That's our books. Right now we're limited on which books we're bringing in, and we are intentionally limiting ourselves on those books. And I don't know how long the other books are going to be in the closet or the storage room. We will see. There are a few books in there I really would like to reincorporate because they're great, especially the Robert McCloskey books. But for right now, our obsession with those is keeping us from some of these other ones that we really need to get to. Oh, there's one other book I didn't show you. I didn't show you the rest of this shelf. So this also from a thrift store. The Penguin Book of Classic Children's Characters. It's got Corduroy, Madeline. It's got Homer, it's got Pooh. We really like these. This I've had since I was a kid. Probably got it from a library sale. Piper Pipe That Song Again. These are all poems. The boys have loved these. This is from Simply Charlotte Mason. These are pathway readers. They use these in Amish schools. These are amazing character building stories. So my son has read, there's one missing because we lent it to somebody, but the oldest has read all the way through where this bookmark is in the 3rd grade reader, and then we paused it because it was getting just too much for him at the time. He could probably handle it now. But I might just use these, since we're already doing the McGuffies, as like a read aloud time thing, because they're great stories. They have poems. They talk about birds, which we're doing now, so he can learn about birds and just listen to me read the stories. We might start doing these just as read alouds. We have these Christian Liberty nature readers. I keep trying to get our kids into these, and it hasn't worked out yet. Maybe when they're a little bit older. They have not been, the writing in these is kind of dry. I'm not gonna lie. But maybe they'll get into them eventually. I got these all, I did not buy any of these full price. I got these all on sale at some kind of sale. So we'll see what they do with these. Maybe they'll never use them. I don't know. So I realized I forgot a few books. This is a picture book of Hanukkah, and it goes through the whole story that's from the Maccabees. That's in the Catholic Bible, the extended version of the Bible. It talks about the Maccabees. So that's there. And this is our Noah Webster dictionary. I did an entire video on that, which I will post above. And then sandwich or smushed underneath all of this, I'm going to take out the big book of history from Master's book or Answers in Genesis. And the really cool thing about this is it folds out and it pairs really well with the CC timeline because it has a lot of those points on it. But then it fills in some of the gaps of things that, I'm not going to fold out the whole thing because it's huge, but it kind of folds out and it just keeps on going all the way to modern times. I think all the way until the election of President Biden it goes to. So, but it fills in like different spot, like creation and the fall. We have, it goes through, it's highlighted in different colors. The different colors tell you, the lime green is biblical Christianity, orange is world events, darker green is inventions and technologies, and red is civilizations and empires, and kind of like goes all the way through. It hits a lot of the points that we hit in the timeline song, but it adds like Stonehenge's there, Jonah and the Whale, the first Olympics gets added in. There's lots, and you can either do it like page through it like it's a book, and it does that way, or you can unfold the whole thing, and it's very long, so I'm not going to unfold it right now. But that is another one of the books that is really cool for studying history. And I think they have a guide that you can study all of history using this. I just didn't get it because the review said you could pretty much just use this. You don't really need the guide. And because we have all the classical conversation stuff and so many other history guides, and I want to do Ruth Beachick's history plan, I didn't get that, but this is cool. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any book recommendations, please post them below. Please like and subscribe.